Lena, intrepid journalist, fearlessly pursuing stories. Working for a small but respected independent magazine, Eclipse, she had earned a reputation for diving deep into the unknown. Her latest assignment was both intriguing and chilling: a small, isolated town in Oregon called Silverpine Creek, which had recently been the center of a string of mysterious disappearances. An anonymous tip suggested paranormal forces were at play. The town was surrounded by thick forests, and local rumors spoke of the curse of the Witch of the Fog, a spirit that allegedly plagued the area for centuries. Curiosity tugged at Lena's heart as she boarded the train to the town. She had dealt with strange occurrences in the past, but this would be different. She could feel it. Lena packed her essentials: her camera, voice recorder, notebook, and flashlight. The more she researched, the more she uncovered strange reports of residents claiming to have seen shadowy figures in the fog, of whispers that could freeze the blood, and of a long-buried truth tied to the town's violent past. As the train arrived at the station, Lena felt a wave of unease wash over her. The sky was overcast, casting everything in a dim gray light. Silverpine Creek, a sleepy town with a population that barely cracked 500, seemed frozen in time. The streets were empty, the buildings weathered, and the air carried a pervasive dampness that hinted at something otherworldly. A thick, curling fog hung heavily in the air, swallowing the town in its embrace. It was the kind of fog that made everything seem just out of reach, like you were walking through a dream or a nightmare. She checked into the town's only inn, the Fog's Embrace, and was met by an elderly woman at the desk. Ruth, the innkeeper, had pale, gray eyes that held a sorrowful wisdom. Her hair, once dark, was now an unkempt silver halo around her head. Ruth greeted Lena with a quiet, strained smile and warned her that if she had any sense at all, she'd leave the town as quickly as possible. "The fog," Ruth muttered. "It'll take you. It always does. The curse of Silverpine Creek is not just a story, child. It's the truth. Once it gets you, you can't leave." Lena, intrigued but undeterred, brushed off Ruth's warnings as superstition. Later that evening, Lena met Mr. Hawthorne, the local historian. His appearance was as eccentric as his personality: tall, thin, with wiry glasses perched precariously on the edge of his nose. He seemed fascinated by Lena's interest in the town's history, but urged caution. "Not everything here is what it seems, young lady. Some things should remain buried, and others should never be disturbed." He spoke of Eloise, a woman who had lived in Silverpine Creek centuries ago. A healer and midwife, Eloise was known for her knowledge of plants and herbs, but one fateful day, she was accused of witchcraft, and after a brutal trial, she was executed by a mob of frightened townsfolk. It was said that she cursed the town before her death, vowing that no one would ever know peace again. Hawthorne suggested that Lena visit the creek, where the legend was born, and find out for herself. Lena couldn't resist. The allure of the unknown called to her, and she left the inn the next morning to explore the woods surrounding Silverpine Creek. The forest surrounding Silverpine Creek was not like any Lena had seen before. It wasn't just a forest. It was alive, ancient, and ominous. The trees seemed to stretch toward the heavens, their trunks twisted into unnatural shapes. Some were so wide that it seemed as if their branches had intertwined with those of the other trees, creating a canopy that blocked out the sunlight entirely. The air was thick with the smell of moss, damp earth, and something darker, something ancient. The fog hung heavily in the air, curling between the trees like ghostly tendrils. Lena walked slowly, her camera held tightly in her hands. Every step seemed to echo in the stillness, and the silence was suffocating. Even the wildlife seemed to have abandoned this place. There were no birds singing, no rustling leaves, just the quiet hum of the wind moving through the treetops. The further she ventured, the more the fog seemed to thicken, blurring the lines between reality and something else entirely. A sense of being watched crept over her, but each time she turned, there was nothing but trees. After what felt like hours of walking, Lena found herself at the edge of a clearing. There, partially obscured by vines and moss, was an old stone altar. Its surface was uneven, the stones worn by time, and dark stains likely blood marked its center. Lena's breath caught in her throat as she approached it. This was the place where Eloise had been executed, the place where the curse had begun. She kneeled down to examine the altar more closely. The stones were inscribed with strange, cryptic symbols that Lena couldn't understand. She pulled out her notebook and began sketching them. As she did, a soft rustling noise made her freeze. Her heart began to race, and she slowly lifted her head. For a moment, all was still, but then just as suddenly as the sound had appeared, it vanished. Lena's pulse quickened, and a shiver ran down her spine. She wasn't alone. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the edge of the clearing. It was tall, pale, and cloaked in a flowing black robe, its face hidden by a hood. Lena felt a strange pull, as though the figure was beckoning her. But the pull was not friendly, it was commanding, oppressive. The figure stepped forward, and the fog parted just slightly, revealing an eerie face, one that was both familiar and unsettling. "I am Eloise," the voice said, soft and chilling. Lena's blood ran cold as she stood up quickly, taking several steps back. No, this can't be real," she muttered under her breath, trying to rationalize what was happening. Her mind raced. Was it a hallucination? A trick of the fog? "I have waited a long time for someone to hear my story," the figure said, its voice filled with sorrow and rage. The figure lifted a bony, outstretched hand, its fingers long and thin, pointing directly at Lena. "You will be the one to uncover the truth." Lena shook her head, backing away from the figure. "What do you want from me?" Eloise's form began to flicker, like a candle in the wind, before it solidified once more. "The truth must be known. They must know what they did to me, what they did to us." The ground beneath Lena's feet seemed to shift as the figure's form became more defined. Eloise's eyes flashed, and for a moment, Lena saw the pain and anguish of a woman long buried beneath the weight of a wrongful death. "The fog will guide you to where the answers lie, but be warned, since you seek the truth, you cannot turn back. You will see things no one else will." And with that, Eloise vanished into the fog. Lena stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest, her mind racing. What had just happened? Was it a spirit? A hallucination? Or something darker? Something more insidious? Determined to break the curse, Lena made her way back to the creek, her heart heavy with the weight of what she had learned. The fog was now a constant companion, swirling around her like a living, breathing entity. The world felt warped, as though the very earth beneath her feet was shifting, trying to draw her deeper into the web of the curse. At the creek, Lena searched desperately for the stone tablet. The air was damp and oppressive, the fog hanging so thick that it blurred her vision. She could barely hear the sound of the water flowing over the rocks. It was as if the world had muted itself. The earth beneath her feet suddenly gave way, and Lena stumbled to her knees. Her hands brushed against something hard, cold stone. She dug feverishly, pulling the earth away until the tablet was revealed. It was large, rectangular, covered in strange symbols that pulsed with an eerie light. Lena's breath caught in her throat as she saw the familiar markings. These were the same symbols she had seen at the altar. As she studied the tablet, Lena realized its significance. It was the key to everything, the truth of Eloise's death, and the curse that had plagued Silverpine Creek for centuries. The inscriptions told of the ritual that had bound Eloise's spirit to the land, forever trapping her in a state of torment. Lena understood now that the fog wasn't just a natural occurrence, it was a manifestation of Eloise's sorrow and anger, a curse cast upon the town that had been sustained by the blood of the innocent. The fog began to thicken around Lena as she chanted the words inscribed on the stone. The ground shook, and the air seemed to vibrate with energy. Eloise's spirit appeared once more, her form now solid, her face soft with gratitude and sadness. The townspeople, those who had been cursed by their ancestors' sins, collapsed to the ground, freed from Eloise's control. The fog slowly began to lift, the sunlight breaking through the clouds for the first time in years. The curse had been broken. Lena returned to her car, exhausted, her body heavy with the knowledge of the horror she had witnessed. She glanced in the rearview mirror as she drove away, catching a glimpse of Eloise standing at the edge of the woods, her expression serene, at peace at last. And as Lena drove further from Silverpine Creek, the sun breaking through the mist, she knew that she had uncovered something that would forever change her life, and the life of the town she had helped free. The fog was gone, but the memory of Silverpine Creek would stay with her forever. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more eerie tales. We'd love to hear what you think. Leave your comments below and let us know your thoughts on the haunting of Silverpine Creek. What do you believe happened in the town? Was it the work of a restless spirit or something even darker?